kodwa akusho lokho ukuthi ke iphelele lapho inganikeza isigwebo esingaphezulu kuleso uma ngabe ibona ukuthi sifanele.
When a court considers an appropriate sentence, there are three factors which are taken into account.
Mangabe ke inkundla izonikeza ngesigwebo kunento ezintathu kufanele ukuthi ke izibuke.
The interest of society, the interest of the offences of which he is being convicted.
Lezo zinto ukulangazelela komphakathi ucala umangalelwa kalenzile kanye naye umangalelwa.
The court is also aware of the fact that it should not come down on you like a sledgehammer.
Futhi inkundla iyazi ukuthi ke akumelanga ukuthi ke iwe phezulu kommangalelwa njengembazo.
The court must blend its sentence with a measure of mercy.
Fanele ukuthi ke isigwebo sayo isifake khona phakathi nozwelo.
The aim of a sentence is to punish you for what you had done, but also to serve as a direction to other members of the community that their interests are also taken into account.
Isigwebo kuyinto efanele ukuthi ke ipanishe kulokho kwenzile futhi ibonise nabanye abangaphandle ukuthi into efana nale into engamukelekile emthethweni.
As far as your personal circumstances go, you testified and you called 2 witnesses in mitigation of sentence.
Buya ke ngokuzikhulumela kwakho ke uye wafakaza wena nabanye ufakaza ababili bayebeza bazokhulumela.
You are 28 years of age and you are a first offender.
Uneminyaka u-28 futhi uyaqala ukuphula umthetho.
You are self-employed and you have 3 children.
Uyasebenza futhi unengane ezintathu.
It seems that at this stage you are not married. You also say that you act as an and you have set up a church. You say that you are remorseful. Upon closer scrutiny, however, it seems that this remorse that you are referring to cannot be regarded as remorse in the legal sense, and which is an important element in considering an appropriate sentence. The court cannot come to any other conclusion but that this, what you call remorse, is self-pity. The court got the impression when you testified that you were in fact claiming to be a victim. Without any regard to the deceased. You have had no regard to the deceased or the family or the friends of the deceased. Mr. Nyandoro and Mrs. Dlamini could not really contribute as far as mitigating circumstances are concerned. Except to confirm that you have a child with her and that you are a kind of pastor and that you establish a church. As far as the offences go, assault is a serious offense.
Amacala obukane nawo icala lokushaya kuyicala elibi kakhulu.
You have violated the body of the deceased in a serious manner.
Uhlukumeze umzimba ngendlela ebi kakhulu.
She had to be hospitalized for the injuries that you caused.
Yowafanele ukuthi kuyangena esibhedlela ngengozi ombangele zona.
The fact that you paid for the hospital costs does not minimize the seriousness of the offense.
Ukuthi wena okhokhele isibhedlela akusho ukuthi wenza lelo cala libe lincane.
The rights of the vulnerability in society, like the deceased who was a lady, is serious, and it is taking on serious it is taking on serious circumstances in this day and age.
Amalungelo omphakathi futhi okufana nomufi ukuthi umuntu wesimame kuyinto enkulu kakhulu kulamalanga.
We see daily persons of the community voicing their dissatisfaction at the fact that the vulnerable person's rights are being violated.
Sibona mihla namalanga amalungu omphakathi ekhononda ngokungaqhubiseki kwabo ngabantu besimame abahlukunyezwayo.
Nothing that the deceased might have done warranted you to assault her in the way that you did.
Ayikho into engabe yenzwe umufi ebekade kunikeza igunya noma imvume yokuthi wenze lokho okwenzile.
What is even more concerning in this instance is that the deceased was most probably inebriated when you assaulted her, and that she could not even resist herself against your attack.
Okunye futhi ke la okuyinto ebalulekile ukuthi mhlawumbe futhi nomufi ngenkathi wena umshaya ubeke usisimo sokuthi angeke akhona ukuthi aze azibele uma ngabe wena wenza lokho okwenzayo noma akuvimbe uma wenza lokho okwenzayo kuyena.
Your actions cannot be described in any nicer terms than cowardly.
Izenzo zakho alikho nje elinye igama esingalisebenzisa ukuthi sikwazi ukuchaza ngaphandle nje kokuthi wena.
We are constantly being reminded that violence against women have no common place in this country.
Sihlala sikhunjuzwa njalo ukuthi ke udlame kwebesimame abunandawo la emhlabeni wethu.
Despite these warnings, this type of offense is just on the increase, and as the prosecutor has mentioned, it is prevalent in this area.
Nalokho zikhona lezo ixwayiso amacala afana nalawa lokho ayaqhubeka ayakhuphuka nakhona la endaweni yethu.
Despite harsher sentences, the offense is just on the increase.
Noma ngabe ukukhishwa ke igwebo eziphezulu ezithusayo lokuqhubeka nje lokho.
This type of offense has to be sanctioned by the community and the courts. By the community, in the sense that they show their dissatisfaction in the way that women are treated, and by the courts in imposing appropriate sentences for these type of offenses.
Icala lifana naleli kufanele ukuthi ke umphakathi nalo liveze ukungaquliseki kwabo nenkundla ke iveze ukungamukeli.
In this regard, diligence before the community take the law into their own hands.
Masibuka ke icala lona lokubulala kuyicala elingangelekile neze.
This court would like to describe it as a crime of no return.
Inkantolo ithanda ukuchaza lecala njengecala nje enganakuyela.
The to life.
Ube nelungelo ngokomthetho ukuthi aphile.
And you had no right to the possessor of her life.
Wena unganalo nje ilungelo lokuthi uthathe impilo yakhe.
A person's life is without doubt the most important asset that a person has.
Impilo yomuntu kuyinto ebalulekile kukho
if a person loses his life, he has nothing.
Uma umuntu elahlekelwe impilo yakhe, akasenalutho.
In this case, the deceased has nothing.
Kuleli
Thanks
cala,
to you.
umufi, akasenalutho, ngenxa yakho.
You have taken that possession away from her and nonchalantly carried on with your life as if nothing was wrong.
Umthathele leyo nto ebalulekile kuyena, wase wena uqhubeka ngempilo yakho, ngathi akukho kwenzekile.
You kept up with this account as to why you killed the deceased.
Awuzange wena usho uveze noma uthembe inkantolo ukuthi usho ukuthi ngani kulale umufi.
But for whatever reason it was unjustified.
Kodwa noma ngabe yini sizathu angeke nje size sizwakala.
The impact of this crime on the family of the deceased was obvious for everyone to see.
Isenzo salecala ke sivele sabonakala la emndenini ukuthi ke sibaphethe ba kanjani.
I will again refer to the mother of the deceased a bit later.
Zobuyele emuva ngikhulume ke ngomama kamufi emva kwalokhu.
The sister of the deceased was distraught to such an extent that she broke down in the witness stand and found it difficult to testify at times.
Dadwabo kamufi ke ubephatheke kabi ngalendlela ukuthi kuye kwaba nzima ukuthi anikeze ngofakazi wakhe mayila eboxini uye wakhala kube nzima ukuthi ufakazi bakhe phume kahle.
You kept everyone close to her guessing about her whereabouts and kept your dark secret to yourself.
Kulokhu wena ubeke abantu abaduze naye umufi belokhu becagela nje ukuthi ngabe umufi ukuphi wena ulokhu fihleke le secret yakho eminyaka.
In your action of deception, you kept the whereabouts of the deceased to yourself.
Kulesenzo sakho esibi wena uye wafihla ukuthi umufi ukuphi wena usifihlele.
And you kept everyone under the impression that you were also searching for her.
Wenze lokhu wenza ebantwini sengathi nawe uyancedisa ukumthola.
The court cannot describe you in any other way than a devil in disguise.
Inkantolo alikho elinye igama engalisebenzisa ukuthi ikwazi ukuchaza nje ngaphandle nje ukuthi ke Sathane nje ozifihla.
One gets the impression that you thought that your riches would get you everywhere, but it got you nowhere.
Lokhu kwenza ucabanga ukuthi ingcebo yakho izokwenzela konke kodwa zange kuphumelele.
According to the evidence of the first state witnesses, she community and specifically abused women.
Uya ngofakazi uqala la uye wafakaza ukuthi ke umufi ibe umuntu obekade enakalele umphakathi futhi ke enakalele abesimame abahlukunyezile.
It is ironic that you, or your abusiveness towards her, a person that she loved, led to her death.
Kuyamangaza ukuthi wena umuntu obekade amhlukumeza uye kwaba uwe futhi owenze ukuthi ke aze alahlekelwe impilo yakhe.
She did not deserve to perish at your hands in the way that she did.
Bengafanele ukuthi ke aphelelwe impilo yakhe ngezandla zakho.
Before you killed her, you apparently assaulted her on many occasions.
Ngaphambi kokuthi umbulale ke wamshaya kaningana.
And you ultimately have been charged for this one offense which you are now have to be punished for.
Waze ke wabethweswa lecala elilodwa kufanele ukuthi ke uthole ke isigwebo sakhe.
It is unclear why she was in your apartment when she met her untimely death.
Tholakala kahle ukuthi ngani ebe la wena uhlala khona ukuze afike la eshona khona.
Whatever that reason might be, men who abuse the rights of women should be punished severely.
Noma ngabe yini isizathu amadoda ahlukumeza abesifazane kufanele ukuthi ke bathole isigwebo esibafanele.
And it is difficult to show sympathy towards such a person.
Futhi kunzima ukuthi ngibonise uzwelo kumuntu ofana naloyo.
You ultimately afforded the deceased no mercy and no sympathy.
Wena uzwelo.
By saying that, the court does not overlook heartedness towards the deceased is evident from your conduct after you killed her. The court has already referred to this in its main judgment. You knew full well where her body was, yet you kept everyone guessing and feeding them lies. On the other hand, you went on with your life as if nothing was wrong and nothing happened. It seems that you even arrived at your apartment with another lady on 10 May when the police met you there and you were arrested. As far as the attempt to defeat or obstruct the course of justice, you have attempted to defeat or obstruct the course of justice in a very serious matter. Your advocate did, in his address, concede that you are actually, that you were main judgment, it was all referred to the consequences of this type of offense. The cause of a death could not post-mortem be established. It's left to the court to make such a finding. The administration of justice is there to serve everybody and does not take kindly to any attempt to defeat or obstruct it. In sentencing you, the intention is not only to punish you for what you had done, but also to serve as a warning to others that this type of conduct, and I'm stressing abusive conduct towards women, will not be tolerated in our society. What will impose today will bring back the deceased to life. The sentence can only, amongst others, serve to punish you for what you had done and to serve as some kind of comfort for her loved ones that you've been sentenced to a proper one.
Isigwebo nje kuyi-punishment encane ozoyithola nokuthi iduduze labo abalahlekelwe abamthandayo emndenini.
In saying that, the court does not lose out of sight that the discretion to impose an
Isigwebo esizokufanela.
It should not subject itself to the wishes of the community, although the interest of society is an important requirement in sentencing an offender.
Ayifanelanga ukuthi ke ibuyele ekutheni isigwebo
Community that their interests are also important.
ngokunikeza ke isigwebo inkantolo efanele ukuthi ibonise ngaleso sigwebo ukuthi ke nokulangazelela komphakathi kubalulekile enkantolo.
And that their rights will be appropriately addressed.
Nokuthi amalungelo wabo azodlulisa ngendlela efanele.
As I've said, the deceased has no rights anymore. You've taken that away from her.
Ngoba sengilo umufi akasenawo amalungelo uwathathile.
A memory will still live on, however.
Yes. Kodwa ke uzohlala ekhumbula njalo konke akakwenzile kuyohlala kuphila empilweni zabantu abamthandayo.
And the community has a right to know that she did not die in vain.
Nomphakathi futhi ufanele ukuthi wazi ukuthi ke akashonelanga ize nje lezi.
She died for the rights of abused women.
Ufele amalungelo besifazane abahlukunyeziwe.
And abused women have to be protected against abuse of men like you.
Futhi ke abesimama abahlukunyeziwe bafanele ukuthi bavikelwe emadodeni ahlukumezayo njengawo.
The court thinks that it would not be inappropriate to call you a person that gives men a bad name.
Inkantolo icabanga ukuthi ke kuzabe kungasiyinto embi ukuthi kunikeze igama lokuthi wena uyindoda ehlukumeza abesifazane.
If one looks at your actions beforehand and afterwards, the court has no doubt that you are a danger to society.
Mangabe sibuka izenzo zakho ngaphambilini nasemuva kahle hle into evelayo la ukuthi wena uyingozi emphakathini.
I say this in view of the callous way in which you killed the deceased and then trying to cover it up with deceptions and lies.
Ngikusho lokhu ngenxa yendlela embi obulale ngayo umufi nendlela izinto ozenzile ukuthi uzame ukufihla lokho.
Your actions have also had a serious effect on the life of the mother of the deceased.
Izenzo zakho futhi zibe nomthelela omubi empilweni kamama kamufi.
It's not challenged that they were a close-knit family.
Ngofakazi ba umndeni obambene ohlangene othandanayo futhi.
She described the pain that she had to go through since the deceased died and still on an ongoing basis.
Uye wachaza ukuhlunga wahlangana nabo kusuka umufi eshona kulokhu kuchubeka.
You've shown no remorse at all.
Wena ubonisanga uzwelo.
Even in evidence today, you try to avoid responsibility.
Namhlanje uma unikeza ubufakazi wakho awubonisanga nje ukuthatha ke
In your attempt to escape responsibility, you maligned the deceased and attacked the character.
Inzameni zakho zokubalekela lokho wena okwenzile uzame nje ukuhlasela ke umufi ukuthi ubeka la umuntu njani.
You even attacked her father, and in your statement that you had made, accused him of abusiveness towards her.
Uze wahlasela nobaba kamufi kule statement osenzile ukuthi ubaba uhlukumeza umufi.
This allegation was refuted by the deceased sister.
Lokho umngcwabo kamufi uye wakuphikisa.
You deserve nothing less than a harsh punishment.
Wena ukukufanele nje isigwebo esikhulu.
No other sentence than imprisonment would be appropriate.
Sikho nje ngaphandle kokuthi uye ejele esizokufanele.
Any other sentence would not serve the interests of society, the seriousness of the offences, or your interest.
Esinye isigwebo angeke size-ke sibonise-ke umphakathi ukulangazelela kwabo necala lenzile ukuthi libi kangakanani.
For you, it cannot be business as usual anymore.
Wena-ke manje-ke impilo ayichubeki.
You caused an imbalance in the scale of justice, and that imbalance must now be corrected by imposing an appropriate sentence.
Wenze ukulungisa ungasalingani lokho kufanele ukuthi-ke sikulungise lokho ukuthi sikunikeze isigwebo esikufanele.
The court must remind you that a person's life is not cheap.
Kudla izokukhumbuza ukuthi impilo yomuntu siyinto echipile.
To take a life comes at a high price.
Ukuthatha impilo yomuntu kunenani eliphezulu kakhulu.
And you will now have to pay that price.
Wena kufanele ukuthi ukhokhe lelo nani.
The court has no doubt that you will now, from now on, be an outcast in the community.
Kanjalo-ke ayinako ukuziyaziya ngaphandle kokuthi-ke wena emphakathini usuwumuntu ozobekelwa eceleni.
In the court's opinion, there is no mitigating factors at all which can be considered in your case.
Kuya inkosi yenkantolo-ke azikho izinto ezingakhulunywa la ezizoyenza ukuthi-ke isigwebo sakho sibe ngathi kuwena.
Except to refer to the fact that you are still a young person and that you are a first offender.
Ngaphandle kokuthi usesewumuntu omusha futhi uyacala ukuphula umthetho.
Having regard to all the factors which I've mentioned here, the court is of the opinion that the following would be an appropriate sentence.
Sengikushile-ke konke lokho esengikushile inkosi yenkantolo-ke ibona ukuthi-ke lokho okulandelayo kuzoba isigwebo esifanele.
And I take into account the cumulative effect of these sentences.
Futhi-ke ngizobuka-ke ukugcwaliselwa kwesigwebo kule macala obhekene nawo.
For the assault charge, you are sentenced to 5 years imprisonment.
Icala lokushaya uzothola iminyaka emihlanu ngaphakathi ejele.
For murder, you are sentenced to 30 years imprisonment.
Ucala lokubulala uzothola iminyaka ewu-30 ngaphakathi ejele.
For the attempt to defeat or obstruct the cause of justice, you are sentenced to 4 years imprisonment.
Ucala lokuzama ukubalekela ingalo yomthetho uzothola iminyaka ewu-4 ngaphakathi ejele.
In the interest of mercy, the court orders that 2 years of the 5 years on count 1 and 4 years on count 3 run concurrently with a sentence on count 2.
Uma ngabe inkundla-ke izofaka ngaphakathi uzwelo, inkosi yenkantolo ithi-ke ucala lokucala iminyaka emibili kule emihlanu oyitholile neminyaka emithathu kule cala lesithathu izohambisana neminyaka ekucala lesibili.
Your effective sentence is therefore 32 years imprisonment.
Lokho-ke kusho ukuthi isigwebo sakho iminyaka ewu-32 ngaphakathi ejele.
Your advocate had nothing to say in regard to section 12.1 of Act 60 of 2000. Therefore, in terms of that section 12.1 of Act 60 of 2000, the court does not order otherwise, which means that you are now automatically unfit to possess a firearm.
Buya-ke ngemithetho yezibhamu ummeli wakho akukho akakushilo ngalokho, kodwa-ke buya ngesigwebo esitholile imithetho usubona ungesenazo iy'mvume zokuthi ungasebenzisa isibhamu.
Do you understand?
Uyazwisisa nje?
I do not have to explain the accused's right to appeal because he has a legal advisor.